Hey guys, welcome to Crawl Unchained. So for the last week or so, I've been working really hard on this project. My intention was to create a battle arena in scrap mechanic inspired by Robocraft. Now, for those of you who don't know what Robocraft is, it's a game where you build a robot using blocks and parts similar to, well, the way that you do it in scrap mechanic. Then you give it weapons, and then you take it into a match and fight other players who also made their robots. Now, Robocraft used to be really good, and I played that game more than any other game I own, but the devs have dumbed it down way too much, and it is no longer as good as it used to be. Now, I was in the mood for some scrap mechanic lately, and I thought I'd try my best to recreate the battle arena mode from Robocraft in scrap mechanic. It was an insane amount of work, and I had to figure out a lot of things that I didn't know, that I didn't even know how to do. But I finally reached a point where I'm happy with the results and I'm ready to share it with the world. Now, I don't want to call it Robocraft because, well, it's not an exact replica, and I also want to avoid copyright issues, so I'm calling it Battle Machine Arena. I think this has a lot of potential to become a popular game within Scrap Mechanic. I could create a lot of different arenas for it, and players could just build an infinite amount of different machine designs for the game. So it's just that kind of game where once you tried it once, you just want to play it again and again and again. So anyways, in this video, I'll be explaining how the game works, what you need to do to win, and how to do it. Then I'll share the rules that I came up with for machine building. Now, those rules are not mandatory. You can come up with your own rules, but if you don't want to come up with your own rules, I came up with a bunch of rules that I think are fair. They're going to avoid machines being overpowered, and if everybody follows those same guidelines, every machine should be fair and should be legit, and no one should have a machine that's overpowered. And then at the end of the video, I'll share the in-game rules that I came up with for respawning or to repair your machine if it's too damaged to fight. Now, once again, those rules are not mandatory. You can come up with your own. It's just these are the guidelines that I came up with if you guys want to use it. Now, that being said, let's get started. Alright, so as mentioned, the first segment will cover the how to play basics. Here's a top view of the map in the world builder. There are 5 locations on this map that you need to know. The first 2 are the power generator locations. They are located at opposite sides of the map. This is where you spawn in the beginning. It's your main base. The main goal in the game is to destroy the opponent's power generator. To do that, you first need to capture the 2 objectives. One of the objectives will be close to your base, the other one is close to the opponent's base. It's done like this to make it fair for both teams. The very first thing you should do in the beginning is to go and capture the objective which is closest to you. It will be up to you and your partner to decide if both teams go for it or if only one of you goes for it. Then you and your teammate need to try and capture the second objective while also defending the one you already have. Once you have both objectives, the walls protecting the enemy's power generator will slide up, revealing the core. You'll have to go there and shoot at it until it blows up, at which point you've won the match. The power generator is protected by a layer of glass that covers the entire structure. Then a few more layers covering only the explosives, and then 2 rows of armored glass covering the explosives partially. The armored glass is there to make it a bit more challenging to dig through the weaker glass, but it is still fairly easy. I did that so that the losing team might still have enough time to capture one objective so that their wall can come back down and make their generator safe again. It's meant to keep the fun going and allows for some pretty intense matches. Now the fifth location which you need to know is the transmission tower. It's not imperative that you know about it, but it's still a nice little touch which I added to help players keep track of who owns what. There are 2 towers at that location which have big spotlights attached to them, one blue and one red per tower. Those lights represent whether or not the objectives have been captured, and if so, which team owns it. In this case, you're seeing a red light on the left and a blue light on the right, which indicates that each team controls their respective objectives. This could be useful after a player has been through a big fight in the middle of the map and is no longer aware of whether or not his team controls any of the objectives. A quick look at those towers will let him know. The lights are visible from far away, but they become a bit hard to see if you're on the other side of the map. One last thing to note is that all buildings are made out of materials which are resistant to spud guns and saw blades, which are going to most likely be the most commonly used weapons. Sadly though, not all of the materials used are resistant to explosives. If you're using modded explosive weapons, be careful around the objectives not to destroy the structures, or else you might break the connections and make it impossible to finish the match, forcing you to restart the match completely. Also, once again, if you're using explosive weapons, blowing up the protective walls around the enemy's generator and blowing up their core this way will not win you the match. The match can only be won by controlling both objectives and then destroying the generator. That pretty much covers it for the first segment. Moving on to segment number 2. Alright, so for this segment, I will cover vehicle building restrictions. The first thing is obviously materials. We want our vehicles to be destructible, so this gives us only 4 different materials which we can use to build our battle machines. Those materials are cardboard, bubble plastic, glass, and sand. Those 4 materials can be destroyed using spud guns or saw blades, which is why your vehicle has to be made out of those materials only, with the exception of shields, which I will cover in a bit. Now, how do we determine how many blocks or weapons we can put on our vehicles? I thought I'd use a similar concept to the one used by Robocraft once again. Which is to assign a CPU cost to every components and blocks, and then giving your machines a maximum amount of CPU available. So if, for example, you decide with your friends that all machines must be within 2000 CPU, then you guys can create any machine you like, as long as once you've added all the costs from all the parts used, it doesn't exceed 2000 CPU. Now this would be the most simple way to go about it, but I took this a step further, and it is up to you to decide whether you wish to do this way or not. Here's how I'm going to design my machines. I decided that all machines should be equipped with a minimum of 1 explosive. The explosive represents the machine's power core. The power core is what provides the machine with CPU. A large power core provides more CPU than a small one, but involves more risk due to being easier to hit. Now, my personal preference here is that I don't limit the amount of cores a player can use. The more cores he uses, the more CPU is available to him, but the more likely to explode he is, which it just balances everything out in the end. I also thought it would be best to separate CPU into 2 different pools, one for the machine itself and one for the weapons. Now, after thinking about this long and hard, here are the values I came up with for everything. A small core provides 500 CPU plus 20 weapon CPU. A large core provides 3000 CPU plus 120 weapon CPU. A player could, for example, choose to use 8 small cores stacked up on each other to create a larger core, which would bring it up to 4000 CPU and 160 weapon CPU. Now here's a text document I made that includes the values for all the components. There's a link in the video description where you can download this text document if you wish to use the same values. Now when it comes to shields, these are anything that regular weapons cannot destroy. Anything that is placed on the outside of your vehicle for the purpose of extra protection is a shield. Now because a shield is impossible to destroy using spud guns or saw blades, the only way to make this reasonable is to limit the amount of blocks holding the shield itself, as well as ensuring that the blocks holding the shields are exposed. Now here's an example using my own vehicle's shields. If I just shoot those two blocks, the shield falls off. A small shield should only be held by one block and is represented by anything 2x5 or smaller, or anything with a surface smaller than 10 blocks. A large shield can be held by 2 blocks max and is represented by anything smaller than a 4x5 or a surface of 20 blocks or smaller. For reference, the shields on my vehicle are 2x6, so are considered large shields. If a shield exceeds 4x5 or 20 blocks, it counts as 2 shields and should cost CPU accordingly. Now just for reference, or in case you guys are curious, I'll be including my machine's stats on screen right now. Okay, now for the third segment of this video, I'll cover spawning, respawning, and repairs. So these things next to the power generators are the spawners. Sadly, there's no way to automate spawning in Scrap Mechanic, so this is the best I could come up with. All you have to do is step in front of the sensor. The sensor will activate a sequence using controllers and other sensors in the back. The sequence activates 3 sets of lights, one after the other. When the lights go green, you're good to go. I recommend using the spawner to start the match. Just have everyone ready near their respective spawner. Then say go. Everyone backs up into the range of the sensor, and once the spawner turns green, just go. When you die, meaning that your vehicle's core has exploded, you'll have to walk back to your base, spawn a new vehicle in front of your spawner, wait for the light to go green, and you're good to go. The walk back plus the timer on the spawner itself are enough downtime. Those matches should be fast paced. If a player is out of order for too long, the matches will end very quickly. If you're out on the map in a vehicle that's too damaged to move after a fight, you can choose to auto-destruct, either by blowing up your own core or by simply putting your vehicle on a lift and deleting it. Then walk back to your base and use the spawner the same way you would if you died. If your vehicle is damaged but you're still able to drive, just drive it back to your base. Getting your vehicle back on the platform will get it repaired. But if and only if there are no enemies attacking your base. So let's assume that you're damaged and drive back to your platform. Just get your machine on a lift and delete it, then spawn a new one and you're good to go. No need to use the spawner for a simple repair. Now repairs cannot occur during a fight, and I personally would not allow auto-destruct during a fight either. Now this pretty much covers it for the spawns and respawns. Now before I go, I just want to explain how to troubleshoot the the buildings on the objectives, or to stop the flashing lights if it occurs during a match. Alright guys, so last little bit before I leave. This is not going to take long at all. So earlier when I demonstrated that these buildings were resistant to being shot at with spud guns, the lights started flashing. Okay, looks like it doesn't want to this time. Well, this one, come on, Red. You can do it. Come on, Red. Okay, it doesn't want to do it, but anyway, the blue one is doing it. So it's just because I hit the button with the spud guns. That's all it means. This particular circuit using the logic gates doesn't like quick little taps of the buttons. Like if I do this, I think it might actually trigger it. Okay, yeah, so I did it. So that's all that happened when I shot it with the spud guns. Now the buttons are necessary because if I was to spawn a new one on a lift like this, just let me find it, it's right here. If I spawn it on the lift, then both parts of the circuit are on at the same time, so they're flashing like that, and that's pretty much what it means. So all you gotta do, oh, okay, well that, it hit this. Alright, that's better. So I'm sorry about the flashing, by the way, I need to demonstrate that. So that's why the buttons are there, is when I spawn it, the buttons are necessary to reset this. Now, during a match, obviously, those buttons might actually get shot at, and this might actually happen. So all you gotta do, just, you know, say pause, everybody exits the vehicle, reset it just by pressing the left button. If you press the right one, you're actually activating the thing as if you captured it using the sensor. So don't press the right button, press the left button. The left button is the reset button. It turns everything off, and then you can get back in your vehicles and resume the game. That's all it is. Now, if you guys want to learn how to create this memory circuit, I recommend watching a tutorial made by Khan. He's the one that, well, the tutorial that Khan made is where I learned how to do this, and if not for that, I probably would not have been able to create this entire thing. Like, this little memory bit here is pretty much the heart of everything. This little logic gate right here connects to the other building over there. It connects to the other building over there. It connects to the towers over there. Just this one little gate here. Same with this gate here. It connects to everything else. This is what literally controls everything. So anyway, if you guys want to learn how to create this memory bit, just watch Khan's video. He's going to explain it a lot better than me. I don't even understand all of the inner workings of this thing. I just recreated something that I learned in a tutorial. That's all it is. So anyway, that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to cover in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a lot of fun playing this battle arena. Everything that you need to download will be on the Steam Workshop. A link to the Steam Workshop page where everything is will be provided in the video description, along with a link to download this particular save game, like a fresh save. I recommend backing up that save so that you can just reload the backup every time that you want to play a new match. And I will also include a link to download the text file that has all of the CPU costs for all of the components and parts. So that's all for now. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Oh yeah, one little thing before I go. If you guys do download all of this and play it, if you're a YouTuber and you make videos of it, please let me know. Give me a link of the videos. I want to see you guys playing this. This is going to be my reward, okay? Watching you guys play it is the one thing I'm looking forward to. I'm actually looking forward to watching you guys play it more than myself playing it. So, yeah. Now that's it. I'm off. See you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.